Chuseok hands down is Korea's largest holiday. Even people who live in Seoul will go back to their hometowns. It's not uncommon for traffic to go on for hours as people leave the city and go out to the countryside. Buses, trains sell out pretty quickly during the Chuseok holiday. And of course, with many of the Korean holidays, there's also different kinds of food that they eat during Chuseok. We're going to be cooking one of my personal favorites, Japchae, made with these potato starch noodles along with meat, spinach, and other vegetables. We're also going to be making Galbi-jjim. It is typically made with short ribs and is marinated for about an hour or so and cooked for hours to get that tender softness to the meat. We're also going to be cooking Muguk, the radish soup. It's a pretty simple dish, but it is one of my personal favorites, especially when the weather gets cold. We got lots of great foods to try to make this week, and I hope you guys enjoy that, but let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be starting out with the radish soup, or muguk. This is one of the easiest of the recipes that we're going to be making today, so you can go along and make that at home. We are going to be using giant radish. We're going to be using half of this for the muguk and half of it for the galbi-jjim. And we're also going to be using, of course, beef. And then along with that, we're going to be using garlic and other seasonings. We're going to be using different stuff such as like fish sauce and garlic and other ingredients to make the soup base. So the first thing that we're going to do is cut the radish into small thin squares. Any of the extra bits are going to be used in some of the other recipes, so none of the radish is going to waste. We want the radish pieces to be small enough where they're bite-sized and thin enough that it doesn't take a long time for them to cook. And once we have the radish finished, we're going to set it aside and we're going to marinate the beef. For the marinade, we're going to be using some minced garlic, some sesame oil, and along with some salt and pepper. For the main part of the marinade, we're going to be using either of Korean soup soy sauce. If you don't have that, you can substitute that with fish sauce as we've done in this recipe. You'll then want to make sure that everything is mixed together well, and then we will be sauteing the beef just in a little bit. Once we have everything ready, we're going to saute the beef until it turns brown, and then we're going to start adding in about 8 cups of water until it starts boiling. One of the most important steps is to skim off the foam that appears at the top of the surface. You're going to want to keep doing that with either some kind of straining tool until the water is fairly clear. Skimming the surface can be time consuming, but it's a very important part of cooking the muguk. We're going to continue to boil it for about another 10 minutes on a medium to high heat, and then after 10 minutes we're going to add the radish pieces and then continue boiling it for another 10 to 15 minutes until the radish becomes a little bit clearer and also soft. At this point, we're also going to add in a little bit. You can add some scallions along with a little bit more of the fish sauce or the soup soy sauce. We don't want the soup to get too dark on here, and you can also add some salt and pepper. Total cooking time will be about 30 minutes, and then you can take it off of the heat, and the muguk goes really well with a bowl of rice for either a lunch or alongside with other dishes as well. So probably the most ambitious dish that we're going to be making this year is going to be galbi-jjim. It typically uses beef short ribs, but the local store didn't have any, so we're just going to be using boneless short ribs. We're also going to be using some of the carrots, radish, chestnuts, garlic, and one of the things that I typically don't cook with is the jujubes. Jujubes are also used in the samgyetang It's a really ambitious recipe, but I'm really excited to try it out. First, we need to prepare all of the vegetables. The carrots and the radish we'll cut into smaller pieces, and with the chestnuts we don't have to prepare them since I was able to find some with the shells already taken off. We'll also want to mince some garlic. We'll also want to peel and mince the ginger as well. Lastly, we need to cut up the jjubjubs and remove the seeds from the middle. To 2 cups of water, we're going to add soy sauce, mirin, and some brown sugar. We'll also mix in some black pepper, garlic, and the ginger. We'll use this later for the seasoning sauce after the beef is ready. For the beef ribs, we need to first boil them on medium-high heat and then rinse them before placing them back into the pot. We'll then add in the seasoning sauce from earlier and then cover the pan while it cooks on medium-high heat for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we can then add in the chestnuts, radishes, and carrots. We'll want to bring it down to a low heat and then cook the galbi-jjim for about an hour. Occasionally, you'll want to stir the galbi-jjim to make sure all of the vegetables are getting cooked. Stir up and let it cook for about another 10 minutes or so until the sauce gets thicker. We can then transfer it to a plate and then it's ready to serve. Lastly, we're going to be making japchae. It is a noodle dish that my mom would make for us growing up. The main ingredient, of course, are the starch potato noodles, and we'll also be using red bell pepper, some carrots, meat, and some other ingredients, and kind of mixing together similar to bibimbap. If you ever end up having some extra japchae, it's always nice to fire up the skillet and kind of stir fry it and mix in some rice and make some japchae bap. I'm really excited to make japchae here for you guys today. After cutting the beef into small strips, we're going to mix in 1 clove of garlic, some sugar, ground pepper, soy sauce, and sesame oil. After mixing them together, we're going to cover the meat and let it chill in the fridge while we're preparing some of the other ingredients. Next, we'll chop up the bell pepper and carrots into small strips, and at the same time, we're gonna boil some water for the spinach. After blanching it for about 30 seconds, we're going to rinse it in cold water and then squeeze out the excess water. After blanching it for 30 seconds, we'll rinse it in cold water and then squeeze out the extra water before cutting it into smaller pieces. Then we can mix in some soy sauce and sesame oil before adding it to the bowl. Next, we'll add in the japchae noodles to the water and let it boil for about 8 minutes or until they're soft. Once they finish cooking, we'll go ahead and strain the noodles and cut them into smaller pieces. We'll add both the noodles and spinach to the larger bowl. Now we're ready to use the skillet, and we'll cook the onions for about 2 minutes until they start to look clear, and then both the carrots and bell peppers can be cooked for about 20 seconds each. We'll want to transfer all of the vegetables to the bowl and then add some more vegetable oil to the skillet to cook the beef. We'll cook the beef for about 2 to 3 minutes before transferring the meat to the bowl. Then we can add in 1 minced garlic clove, some soy sauce, sugar, black pepper, and some sesame oil to the bowl. Mixing all the ingredients together, we'll want to transfer the japchae to a serving plate, and it's all ready to eat. We'll then cook the beef for about 2 or 3 minutes before transferring the meat to the bowl. Then we can add in 1 minced garlic clove, some soy sauce, sugar, black pepper, and some sesame oil to the bowl. Mix all the ingredients together and then transfer the japchae to a serving plate, and you're all ready to eat. I had a lot of fun cooking these 3 different recipes for Chuseok, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video as well. If you did, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you've liked the video as well, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure.